it was literally on my television screen, Harry Styles and Taylor Swift having a midnight kiss on New Year's Eve. I could not believe what I was watching. And Harry wasn't even my favorite. Like I kind of, I think, was just in this like mass hysteria going on about them dating of like, oh my God, how is this happening? But then 1989 came out, and like that's pop Bible, and I'm really thankful that that happened.
Welcome to Stan, the podcast where we dissect our enthusiastic and at times obsessive relationships with cultural phenomena. I mean, have you ever caught yourself unironically insisting that it's not just a phase? Or stayed up all night to finish that book that you just can't put down? Or have you ever had such a huge crush on a celebrity that it made your heart physically ache? I have. So join me as we figure out why certain things or people capture our attention and affection so well. I'm really happy that you're here. I know you would have fallen in love with Kat last week because of her infectious humor and self-awareness, and above all, insane directioner lore. If you haven't listened to our last episode, I encourage you to go back and do so now. If you have, welcome back to the next installment. Without further ado, please enjoy the second half of the interview with our One Direction fandom insider, Kat. So you were like, I would stay up all night reading fanfic.
So there was this app called Wattpad, and that had fan fiction, so much fan fiction. That really was a huge thing. The One Direction fan fiction was on there, any artist fan fiction. And there was also Archive of Our Own, which is, you know, like within Society AO3. And that was where originally a lot of fan fiction was on there. So that has like a lot of Harry Potter fan fiction. There's this one Harry Potter fan fiction that is so famous and is produced into like 5 books if you get it bound, is this long fan fiction. And that was on AO3. So this was hosting things even before One Direction got on there, but that was really Wattpad's claim to fame, was having all the fandom, the One Direction. I'm sure you could have found Justin Bieber. I found all my 5 Sauce fan fiction on there. Like that, they had all of that stuff. And then there was a website called onedirectionfanfiction.com. And that was specifically One Direction fan fiction, and like you could search by tags. So that's where there are these fan fictions like after became like they're movies released now. They got published into books not with the boys' names in it, published like created into movies. There was another one called Dark that was really big at the time. I tried to reread that in college, and I was like, I shouldn't have been reading this during a developmental period of my psyche. This was not good.
Wait, why? What was in it?
That one, like Harry Styles was kind of a stalker. He was kind of your stalker, but you're like it kind of becomes some Stockholm Syndrome situation after it was set at literally like American Uni. There's another one that I actually recently started reading because people keep talking about it, and they're like in a gang. Like there were a lot of like One Direction in gangs thing going on. So they kind of were like mob bosses, crime families, like really, really insane stuff. There was the fanfic where you got sold to One Direction.
Was that like a common trope, or was that just like one really famous story?
That one, I think that one made it common because everyone was like, what is going on? And then I think some people who were a little, you know, off the rocker, because why would you write this? But they were like, I could do this better. So you get like, there's a lot of fan fictions that are like Stockholm Syndrome-esque.
Yeah.
A lot of like, I don't want to be with him, or I don't want to be involved with this, or like literally taken me against my will, or my mother sold me to One Direction so she can buy drugs. And then by the end of it, like you're intertwined in their lives and you're in love with someone, one of them.
Yeah.
Some of them they're still in the band, and like they see you at the concert and you get to go on tour with them and do everything. Like those existed. But some of them were set in high school, some of them were set in college. A lot of Stockholm Syndrome-y things going on.
Why do you think there's such a draw towards kind of coercive or non-consensual relationships or dynamics?
I almost think it's probably the idea that like they're chasing you. You're not some like crazy fan that wants this chance with them. They want you.
Right.
I think that's where the draw to it is. Like, I've read fan fiction that is better than I think some books that I've read in my adult life.
Yeah.
Like, I've read some books being published now and been like, I read something on Wattpad for free that was so much better than this.
Yeah.
It had, like, people were online talking about these fanfics. Like, the chapters would drop too. You'd get the notification from the app that there was a new chapter. And so this was even the same thing we were talking about where, like, we'd watch American Idol or X Factor or, like, Survival or Survivor or something was, like, on every week at this time period. Like, you were kind of sitting there waiting for this author to drop the next chapter, and they were pretty consistent with it. It would usually be around the same time every week. So it was a collective thing for some of the really popular ones. Some of them just had like millions of reads on them. Like the one I just started reading, which is so fun to admit that I started doing that, but I keep seeing people talking about it and I was like, I definitely didn't read this and I feel like I have to now.
What is the premise?
They're in a gang. There's been a few that I read that they were in a gang. There was one I read low-key within the last few years of my life. I think it was during the pandemic, and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to feel the same way I felt reading fan fiction. And I stayed up all night. I actually did it again, but I was like 22. And I was like, I can't do this.
What is it that do you think that has changed in your brain, either neurologically or like self-imposed or consciously or subconsciously, that doesn't allow you to engage in fandom in the same way as you did before? Like, if they were still a band, do you think you would still be following them as intensely as you did when you were 15?
Yeah, I think I'd be on the road with them. When I was working, I made this joke to my boss that if One Direction came back, I would have to take a sabbatical and I'd have to go off and follow them around. Like, it would have to happen. But I don't know if I'd be so ingrained in the fan fiction. I think also getting older now, like, it was fun when you're younger and everyone there's older than you. And so the media that you're consuming is just a step out of your age range.
Yeah.
Versus I think now, and this is another problem on the internet that I could probably write a dissertation about, we forget that we're online with like now even younger than 14. Like, the kids are getting on social media so young. I really wouldn't care to read a fan fiction set in high school anymore because I'm not in high school anymore. Even I think college would be kind of difficult, but I'll let it slide. But that is just something where, like, I think you are in this middle ground and people older than you are no longer writing fan fiction. They have real jobs. I haven't actively searched for one in a while unless I see people talking about it online.
But when you say like, I worry about people who are younger, like, do you feel like it detrimentally affected you?
I definitely, like, at 14 shouldn't have been reading One Direction in a Gang Kidnapping Me. Yeah. Like, I shouldn't have been reading it, and I definitely shouldn't have been like, I'm having fun. I'm actually loving this piece of media that I'm involved in right now.
Yeah.
It was absolutely like a very quick exposure, especially like in these fan fictions. Like, they would have like sex and stuff. Like, it was like I was reading these, like, everyone makes fun of all the girl books now. They're all smutty and whatever. Like, that's what was happening in fan fiction. It's these fan fiction writers have book deals now. I read books sometimes and I go, this was on Wattpad. There's no way that this is for real.
I did do an episode on smut and Wattpad and how it affects people. But I guess like erotic literature is becoming much more acceptable for women. Like, I was invited to a book club just dedicated to erotic literature recently.
That's all they read?
That's all they read. Like, we finished a dinner and one of the girls was like, oh, you should join our erotic literature book club. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I have nothing against it. I think it's really wonderful how we're like producing content that is directed towards the female gaze. Like, I think that's super healthy and it's like really exciting.
Do you want to read porn and then we get together and we discuss it?
You know what? Go off.
My book club does every Christmas. We find some like cringy, slutty Christmas book. Like, they'll be Christmas themed. And we find those, and those are funny. And then for Valentine's Day, we obviously wanted to do like a romance book. But then some people wanted to do like the person's playing sports. Like, we're literally in book club being like fanfic tags. Like, I want sports player. I don't remember how we got into it, but I was like, is there like a bull rider romance? And this girl in my book club went, yes. Yes, there is. And there's like 4 books in that series too.
There's so much content coming out these days. To me, it's less surprising now that there are so many sports team ones.
It's just so readily available, and it all makes sense to
It's
me.
something for everyone. And that's
Finding out that like the sports teams here were just the frat equivalents, and then they're just like, oh, me and the rugby guys, and we used to blah blah blah, and it's like proper weird sexual hazing. And I was like, you guys could have kissed and you didn't have to make it weird like that. Everyone is so concerned about what the frats in the US are doing, and I was like, the sports teams over here are like maliciously torturing each other.
So I went to university in America, and there's such a thing with American girls, and they're like, oh, I want a British boyfriend. And I'm
Yeah,
like, baby, you don't know what you're saying. If you think rat culture in the US is bad, go
it's
to
10 times as
yeah,
bad.
like go to a boozy pub on a Tuesday night. There's gonna be a rugby team there chanting.
Very like vulgar and loud and in everyone else's space.
And also, I'm sure you feel this way as an American, no offense, but whenever I travel as a British person, especially in like East Asia, and I hear like hollering and yelling, I'm like, please don't be English. Please don't be English. Please. I'm like, please. Did you engage with any of the other boy bands? You mentioned 5 Seconds of Summer.
I was very, very into 5 Seconds of Summer. The concert in Fort Lauderdale that I went to was actually 5 Seconds of Summer's first US show ever, and they were opening for One Direction. And that is where I was seeing the screens, and I was like, who is their drummer? That's actually the love of my life. To this day, I'm like, I think there's a part of me that Ashton Irwin is still in some way, shape, or form a soulmate of mine. But it was just immediate. It was like almost the same thing, like the same rabbit hole that I go down. But even then, these boys were younger. So like Luke, who was the youngest, he was like a year older than us. He's a year older than me. And then the oldest one was literally like 20 at the time. So they were also just so young and so much even closer to the age that we were at. And they were new and they were like kind of edgy, and they were, they played their own instruments, and they are like out of a garage. They were like posting covers on YouTube. Um, and so that became a huge, huge aspect. Like I love them so much. It was so fun that them and One Direction were touring together. And then they toured together again. They did it the next tour. 5 Seconds of Summer also opened for them. And I was like, this is the best day of my life. This is a miracle. They announced that, and I was like, this is truly, truly a miracle happening right now. So I got to see that both times. Really exciting. But like the vibes were so different of the bands too, that like One Direction was really mass appeal, and there was kind of like someone for everyone within that band. Like you could, there was like the bad boy and the like boy next door and whatever. But that 5 Seconds of Summer, they were grungier and they were angstier. They were writing more rock songs. They were doing a lot of their own writing and stuff. They didn't like being called a boy band, but objectively they're a band of boys.
Yeah, it's a descriptive term, to be fair.
Yeah. But that is then also like the Tumblr culture and everything. I really liked the 1975. I still like the 1975.
Controversial.
Controversial. Matty Healy is one of my controversial favorites, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm with you.
I just am he's so ingrained in my mind, and also I've seen so much of him and been so involved with the band for so long that like when things were happening in the last few years, because he was dating Taylor Swift, and I was like, you are dipping your toe into a water that you are very unfamiliar with here. I'm not justifying anything genuinely horrible he's done, but it's like he kind of very much like performing artist. And like, so he'll be doing interviews, and it's still kind of this like almost persona that he has for himself. And there was like a long time in like the 2010s he was on drugs. So this personality and this thing that he's putting out into the world isn't really, I guess, him or what he's kind of like off camera. But he takes it too far. So then he says dumb shit, and I'm like, and why would you say that?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that you were just saying in terms of he has this public persona, but how familiar do you really feel with his integral self, like his private persona? If you're like, oh, there's a difference, do you mean like in the promotional materials? Where do you draw that line?
Yeah, I think in like his social media and promotional stuff, but then you'll see these like offhanded interviews where he'll be like no, I don't charge people for meet and greets. Like, if you want to be an artist and charge for meet and greets, make them pay you cash right in front of you. You'll stop doing it after 2 people. It's awful. Why would you make them do that? When like Black Lives Matter was happening and he was like very vocal there, he literally told Oasis to get back together. He goes, this is stupid. You're the best band of all time and you're just brothers fighting. Get over it. Get back together. And it's like, okay, like why can you do these things in these like rando niche interviews that people have to find to defend you, and then you go on like BBC for some reason, you say something stupid. Like why are we doing that? I won't defend him to the death. I'm not on the front lines for him, but I am, every time they release something, I am listening. I'm sat for it every time. But that was also like the Tumblr culture. Like he was edgy and grungy and angsty. And so even when you were seeing it as like the aesthetic more than you were seeing it as this person in this band.
And by the time they became like publicly promotional and they had the platform to say things, you were already locked in, is what you mean?
Yeah, I guess I was locked in like to the, not to be like a art from the artist, but it was locked in that even though he can be obnoxious, he is in the studio doing great work. But he's like not being obnoxious in the way that like Kanye is a Nazi. He's just like kind of just sometimes saying dumb shit. And you're like, man, I can't keep defending you. So I just call him one of my problematic faves and I move on. Trisha Paytas is one of my problematic faves. I don't even think she's problematic anymore. But it falls in the same category for me. The Congressman George Santos, I stand by him. I go, he's wrong in his beliefs, but he is very funny and they need to free him. I know he did the fraud, but give him his phone back. I was like, listen, there are equally evil people and they're not as funny. And I think we need to go after them.
One of the underlying messages that I aim to get across is that like celebrities, because they are people, are complex and like difficult. People are very complicated and multi-layered and no one's a good or a bad person. And I think because the media landscape, first of all, we're giving so much attention to celebrities about political things. And I'm like, why are you going to Sabrina Carpenter for her stance on like Israel-Palestine? That's not her job, but also like it is because you're getting so much content, you feel like you're in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Like you have the same relationship as a friend or a parent or whatever, but you're not able to sit them down and be like, hey man, that made me uncomfortable. And we expect perfection from these people. And yes, there is a responsibility to not say outrageous or offensive things online and like, you know, set a good example. But at the same time,
this is some British dude.
I think people just take it so personally and feel so betrayed that because their relationship with that person as it exists is they are this perfect illusion of a person, and as soon as they make a mistake, you're forced to reconcile the fact that they're actually
not
just a fucking person. And like if they were anyone else in your life, you could be like, that's actually not okay and that made me uncomfortable. But because they're not, the only way that you can react is like comment on their Instagram.
I feel like it's almost even in reverse with like the fandoms where like with One Direction they had like the Larrys and they were like, even to this day there are people that think like Harry and Louis are married, and no matter how many times, even though even the band has addressed it, no matter how many times, they like will not hear the sanity of it. And it is like you don't know these people and you form such a bond with them that like even them trying to appeal to you and saying like stop doing this, like you think you know them better than they know themselves, or you think you see through it and they're communicating with you. It's like really QAnon the way that they act about it, but it's like you create such a weird relationship that then these people do something that is like you don't agree with, and it crushes your worldview and like really sends you off the rails, or just like, I don't know, a famous person doing something that you don't agree with and then you feel the need to go on and like harass them or their fans or like comment about it. And it's like that's where I feel more grounded in reality, and that it's like I don't have to go do that. Like actually no one's making me stream it, no one's making me interact with them, no one's making me sitting me in a room, tying me up and exposing me to it. Like I am choosing it, and I can also choose to be like, okay, well that was enough of that for me and move on. And like I don't know why people can't do that anymore.
In the attention economy, good attention and bad attention is still profiting that person. And I think like when people are posting these things online like fuck XYZ, I'm like, all press is good press. So by doing that, you're actually doing them more help than by just like unfollow, block, not going to listen to your music, because it all contributes to an algorithm. It kind of reminds me of like, I don't know if you've online dated, but like you match with someone and you have like a really, really nice conversation. You get your hopes up because you're like, oh, they seem really cool. And then you meet them in person and they like breathe really loudly, or they chew with their mouth open or something like that. And you're like, oh my God.
And it's weird. Yeah.
You get the ick so quickly because you're like, this idea that I built up of you in my head while I was waiting for the date.
This is going to be such a fun story one day, and like fun, derogatory, fun in my friends are laughing at me, not with me.
Do you feel like, you mentioned that you found a sense of community with being like a directioner, and like it was just a fun, very like harmless, for the most part, place to be. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your self-perception, especially as you were growing into a fully formed adult person, was deeply affected by the band or your relationship to them, or caused you to like evolve in some way that you may not have if you didn't encounter them?
Yeah, I think in like a macro sense, I don't think I'd be living in London had I not been in some cult for a British boy band. Like it was the inspo for everything. Like I was in college and I could study abroad, and I was like, of course I'm going to London. Oh, wow. I gotta go see the spots. I have to go have Nando's. I have to give my dollar to Nando's because that is Niall's favorite place to eat. Like that, it is ingrained in there. And then obviously like you fall in love with the city, and I love London for so many reasons, aside from like every once in a while Harry Styles being here. But then I guess in a smaller sense, like at the time it affected like my style. Like I really was into the angsty and the flannels and the ripped jeans and all of that. The combat boots, the soft grunge of the time. Was really affected by that. And then even like the music I was listening to, there are songs that I know today that are unbelievably famous, and it's legitimately just because One Direction did a cover of it. I would have never come across it myself. It would have never entered my sphere, probably until I went to college and was like, why does everyone know the words to this song?
Wait, what song?
Wonderwall's one of them. I found Wonderwall because One Direction did a cover of it. Teenage Dirtbag, they did that on tour. I still like their version better. I won't even lie to you. The One Direction version of Teenage Dirtbag is so good. I still prefer to listen to that one. It's so good. They did Valerie at one point. That was a song that I discovered because of One Direction. Like it really, and then obviously like getting into other British acts coming in. Like I am a Little Mix huge fan. I was on the front lines in the US for them. Like that happened because of One Direction. Ed Sheeran happened because of One Direction, like in my mind. Not that his fame is owed to them, but
interesting argument.
In that like I found him because like they were all in this same circle. I had like a Cher Lloyd phase for a while. That was silly.
Oh my God, Cher Lloyd.
I know.
Do you know what's so crazy is I fully, for like a long time, thought Cher Lloyd and Charlie XCX were the same person.
And I could understand why you'd think that.
I don't know how these got mixed up. So when Brat came out,
and you were like, what is Cher Lloyd doing?
I just could not reconcile Brat.
I can imagine how confused you were.
Yeah, 15 minutes of fame, no offense to Cher Lloyd. But it was so weird to me. And then I realized they were two different people, like way too late in the game.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine how confused you were. Yeah, that must have been very, very daunting that like not only would Cher Lloyd be back, but then such a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist all of a sudden.
And I knew, like now I trace back obviously what Charlie XCX has released, and I'm like, okay, yes, no, she was on the horizon the whole time. But for some reason when Brat came out, the only image I could conjure was Cher Lloyd. You fully studied abroad in London because of One Direction?
Yeah, that's why I chose London. There were a lot of options. I'm sure like something would have drawn me to London anyway, whether it be the fact that like this is an English speaking country and I speak no other languages. Mm-hmm. But it is like all back into wanting to go because of One Direction and these like cultural points. Of course I had to go to London. It was silly to think otherwise. I was really excited to live. It's like the fan fiction joke where sometimes the characters wouldn't have names. It would just be like YN and it'd be like your name and you fill it in your head like you're reading it. It's like, oh, Harry turned around and was like, YN, do you want something to drink? Like in your mind, it's supposed to be like your name. Like it's supposed to be like, I would read it. And I got so consciously, like I would fill my name in at some point. Like I would read it as like, Catherine, do you want something to drink? But it's like, oh, I'm going to live my YN dream and move to London and Harry Styles is going to fall in love with me and blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, then I obviously studied abroad and it was so amazing and awesome. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to move there anyway.
Wow.
Despite my dreams of meeting One Direction dwindling by the second, I was like, yeah, I'll go.
Also, it's quite funny that you moved to London to like meet an English boy, and now you're dating an American man.
It like was so, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
I get it. I get it.
Literally, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just simply the cultural overlap. I don't know. I was in like a situationship with a British man prior to me and Ben starting to see each other, and it was like, this is the fucking trenches sometimes. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, dating an English boy is not for the weak. And I think they've just got such a toxic masculinity culture here. Like, I don't think gender dynamics are sorted in the US, of course.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a romanticization of like the accent, but everybody thinks they're going to meet a Hugh Grant in Notting Hill. And then they come here and they meet an actual English man and they're like, this is disgusting. Like, you need to brush your teeth. So speaking of boys and stuff, how did the parasocial relationship with One Direction shape your expectations of relationships?
I had a high school boyfriend who hated me. So like, I think the enemies to lovers, haters to lovers thing really got into my head as something that would be good. And it was not. Like, he just fundamentally didn't like me as a person. I don't know why he dated me. But I feel like
I thought you meant like at the beginning he hated you.
No, he didn't. Well, he did. We were like on and off friends for a long time, and then for some reason he started liking me. Like, I don't know how it like swapped in his brain. And then we dated for like 2.5 years, and then in hindsight I look back and I'm like, he kind of just like, he wasn't really evil. He just didn't fundamentally like me, and I don't know why he made the decision to, you know,
stick around
with me and do that. But that was like, I was like, that's really the formative one. But I guess the enemies to lovers, in my mind, I thought that would work the same way, which was not the case. But I do remember, like, because especially when you have like, you're in your first like real relationship or whatever, and you are like, get it, you know, you're like smooching and things and doing whatever, and you're like young and you've never done it, and it's like frightening. And I remember being like, no, I know what I have to do here. Oh, like, wow. I remember being like locked in because I read my fan fiction, and I was like, no, I know what's supposed to happen here. I know what's about to go down.
Wait, did it make you more like confident, or it made you like presumptuous almost?
No, I think it made me confident in like engaging in that behavior. Like, I think like wanting to sleep with my high school boyfriend, or like wanting to, I don't know, like make out with boys around me is, of course, like the hormones are raging and that's what has to happen to a 16-year-old. But I also was just like, no, I'm like not afraid of doing this. Like, I'm not worried that I'm bad at something. Like, I feel like I have some foundational ground to it, which is so funny. But like, even to this day, sometimes I joke around and I'm like, you should thank every fan fiction I ever read. Like, it's really like, it truly is, it is like, obviously as time goes on and you are like with more people and you are like, you know your body and everything. But like when you're like 16, 17 and it's your first boyfriend, I kind of have to go off what I have read. And it was really not too far off.
It's instructional.
Yeah, it really was. And there were some things that I thought like fan fiction made up. Until I got into later relationships in my life and realized that this was possible. I just like was sleeping with people who couldn't do it. That's where I really like that's like, as time goes on and I'm just like, oh my God, I thought that only happened in fan fiction. I thought they made that up. Because obviously this is other 16-year-old girls writing about sex. Like, sometimes I'd read it and be like, yeah, actually, she didn't know what was going on either. Like, we're all in this, making this up echo chamber. Blind leading the blind. It really was. But like, turns out someone initiated it because they knew it was possible. And that's what I found out later. Like, but even then, like, things happen to me now at this age, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought fan fiction made that up. Like, even to this day, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think that was real. I wasn't seeing like physical porn. I guess like it would come up on like Tumblr and Twitter sometimes, and it was like unavoidable on the internet at the time where like nothing was being censored. Like the community guidelines were very loose in the early 2010s. It was still like the internet where you could tell people to kill themselves. I don't tell people to kill themselves online. I just like the vibes are very different. But then when there's no community guidelines, like this is all happening online, so you are obviously going to come across like some type of like pornography. But then yeah, this was really the only educational standpoint. Like even my school was very good with like our sexual education, but it wasn't like here's how you do it. Like it wasn't like that woman, that YouTube video where she had the melon or whatever. Like they weren't showing us that. They were just like, here's how you don't get pregnant. Hey, take birth control. Hey, use a condom. You know, like that was their education. And then the further reading, I guess, for me was fan fiction.
Well, you know what? If it gave you confidence and didn't like make you feel pressured into doing something that you weren't excited about, then God bless.
Very, very odd. In hindsight, too, like some of the things I was reading, I absolutely shouldn't have had exposure to that at like 15 or 16. Like truly the girls were just writing anything on the internet. But I guess I ended up okay and grounded to some extent. So it couldn't have done too much damage to my psyche, but I definitely think there's some wire in there that's a little twisted around after my brain forming at 3:00 in the morning reading insane fan fiction. Yeah, light on my phone, the wires connecting.
Were you ever jealous? Because I know this came up like a lot, and one of the things that I was quite concerned about, speaking of telling people to kill themselves on the internet, is how the girlfriends were treated.
Yeah, that was insane. I do not know how they managed that. To me, they kind of became it girls. Whatever Eleanor Calder was doing, like I wanted to do it bad. Like I was loyal to Topshop because for some reason that's all Eleanor Calder shopped. I was always getting things from Topshop. And so I followed them. I liked them as people. Like I wasn't, like I was in love with Zayn, and him getting engaged to Perry Edwards was obviously for 15-year-old me like a 9/11 or something, but it was fine. And like I really liked Little Mix, and it was kind of insane to look back and see like what they went through. Any girl that Harry was seen with was a problem. A lot of the harassment to Eleanor was, I guess, some partly what every girlfriend was getting, but then also the Larrys were like, this is a fake relationship, this is PR. And like that was fully his girlfriend. And then they even like got back together in like recent years. I don't know if they're not still together right now. He's dating that girl from Love Island, but like they
Which
even
girl?
like got I don't know. I almost want to say her name's Zara, and I could be wrong.
Hold on. Sorry.
He kind of hard launched her recently. Or she hard launched him. They're in a hard launch
no
stage.
Way. Oh, I know this girl. Yeah. She's like a reality star in England, yeah.
Yeah, now she's dating Louis Tomlinson. So
good for her.
A lot of that, the harassment at the time to Eleanor was like, this is a fake relationship, and stop making them hide who they are and blah blah blah, which like I guess wouldn't have been Eleanor's fault anyway, but that was a lot what she got. The Taylor Swift and Harry Styles really like went blown out of the water. I do remember them kissing on New Year's Eve. It was literally on my television screen, Harry Styles and Taylor Swift having a midnight kiss on New Year's Eve. I could not believe what I was watching. And Harry wasn't even my favorite. Like I kind of, I think, was just in this like mass hysteria going on about them dating of like, oh my God, how is this happening? But then 1989 came out, and like that's pop Bible, and I'm really thankful that happened.
Wait, so were you upset about it?
I was like upset, and then I was just like, I guess I should want him to, like, I'm going through these like stages of grief over this man that I don't know, and I'm like an underage fan. Like truly, like I had no business like thinking that I could be the one. I didn't even think that. Like Harry wasn't my favorite. I don't know why I was acting like this. It just like was such a mass hysteria of them dating was so crazy. I think new fans or like people who have come around to Taylor Swift in like the last 5 years don't really remember that it was relentless slut shaming of Taylor Swift, and that she dates everyone and is going to write a song about you and is going to ruin your life and say all these things about you and whatever, like she controls the narrative. And so I think that's where a lot of that like hostility came from, was they thought she was going to do that, and she did, and it was very good. So I'm okay with it. I let it slide because the music was unbelievable. And Taylor's version was even better. We got the vault tracks, and I was like, oh my God, like you two really were off and on. This is crazy. But at the time, it I think was that viewpoint of Taylor Swift that was ingrained in everyone's mind. Like even a fan or not, like I was a huge fan. I am still a huge fan of Taylor Swift. For years before that, years before One Direction became a thing, like all the way up to now, still a fan. And it was even in my mind where I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. How could she kiss him on the television my parents pay for, that I'm watching, that I'm sitting here watching?
How does she have the audacity?
On my television screen in front of me that my parents pay for, how could she do this to me? How could they do this?
It sounds a lot more, rather than like jealousy, it's more protectiveness.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from that. I think some of it stemmed from that. Some of it stemmed from being jealous. Again, like Taylor then had to deal with like the Larrys. And Taylor has her own set of Larrys. They're called Gaylors, except this is every woman she's ever been involved with. They somehow can bring back. So this is like a mix of like the Larrys saying this is PR, and then the Gaylors saying it's PR, and then anyone who doesn't think it's PR hates you. And it just like was a lot going on. For her, I do feel bad. And I feel insane in hindsight. Like it truly was just mass hysteria. I remember like getting over it or sitting there and being like, I guess he should just be happy. Like they seem like they're enjoying each other's time. Like they're going on a date to the zoo. Like why am I upset?
It's so interesting that so many people have such deep opinions about the relationships of celebrities. Like, oh, he never really made her happy, or like, oh, they were never really meant for each other. And I'm like, I feel like I can barely say that about my own friends, because I'm such a staunch proponent of like, you don't know what a relationship's like unless you're inside it. I'll complain to my friends about someone I'm dating, and they're like, oh my God, I never would have thought that. And I'm like, yeah, why would you? Like, because you're not with us watching TV and eating takeout every night, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It like wouldn't come across, or like you wouldn't think of something. That's what I feel when I like will text my friends and I'm like, am I being crazy about something? And like we'll talk to them about it, and I'm just like, well, this doesn't help. Like you don't know what it's like when it's normal, so you don't know if I'm being crazy or not. I'm like, I have to give the last like 2 months of context. Yeah. I think it's almost the same thing. And then but people have these parasocial relationships, like they think that they know these people, and then even more of that, like this is Taylor Swift's job, and like yeah, she makes a lot of money off of telling us what happened, and as she should. I enjoy listening to it. I'm a gossip first before I'm anything else, and so I like when she gets on the mic and tells me what happened, because I want to know.
Yeah, you do.
But it's like that's the only viewpoint you get, and you are speculating up until that point, and even then it's still like one-sided, no matter how much of a reliable narrator I believe her to be.
I don't know. Even when, for instance, people were like, oh, about Ariana Grande and her scandal, and having so many opinions about the timelines, I'm like, none of us know these people, and it's so difficult. Even like if you've been through a breakup, it was like semi-public. I once, went through a breakup with someone who is considered to be like a very, very nice person, and you're required to be like, we just grew apart, and everybody seems to have their opinion on it, and it drives me crazy on like this teeny tiny scale. So if the Daily Mail or the New York Times or some random girl in Atlanta on Twitter had
an opinion,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who had never met me before, it would drive me insane.
Even like I have that idea of Ariana too, where I'm just like, it's always something. Like there's always something fishy going on with her and whatever man she's with. And then I'm like, you know what? The same thing where I go, I'm loving the music. So I have to turn a blind eye to your indiscretions that I believe you've done. Like she fully could have had no indiscretions. And I'm sitting here like, I kind of don't care if you do. Like I'm having fun with the music. I hope you have another one. I hope you have more indiscretions.
Go for it. Okay.
This is great. I'm having a good time.
It's just like so interesting that people take these things so personally and have such strong opinions on like exactly what happened. And I'm like, we're never gonna know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being considerate of someone else who's been like hurt and going online and being like, and on June the 24th, where was she?
I say this as someone who's unemployed, but it's really unemployed behavior. Like you actually not have anything else to be doing today. even I don't have anything else to be doing, and I'm not doing that with my time. Why is this what you're so fixated on? Like,
yeah, or like get a hobby, you know?
get
Like go for
literally
a
get a
run.
hobby that is not this.
To an extent, gossip, right, as a evolutionary instinct is something that brings people closer, and that's why you feel like you can have a community with people around the globe who are also One Direction fans, because you have opinions on these same things and because you're able to gossip and because you have that person or that point in common. And so I can understand like why it's an instinct. Like you said, first and foremost, I'm a gossip. Like I'm exactly the same way. First and
Exactly.
foremost.
I think it's important. I think it's fun, especially these public figures. And like, yeah, there is someone low key doing that math out there showing you when she was somewhere. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, interesting to note, I guess. But like, I also then don't go and like harass someone. Like, I'm not then going on and like harassing Taylor Swift or Ariana or whoever and being like, oh, the evidence is stacked against you, bitch. Like, I think it's really like, I don't know. Like, I know where you were according to this Twitter
the dates
profile.
Don't
like
lie.
the dates are not lying. This random person on Twitter is not lying to me. But that's where it's like there's a line, and there are some people that feel, I think, so parasocial with them that they think they can like cross that, or like this is an opinion that they'll take seriously. And then like time and time again though, these artists come out and is like, I'm not taking your opinion seriously. I'm like really not listening to you about my personal life, or anything of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's then where the line becomes funky. The Gaylors are upset she's engaged. Like, it really is where it's just like, you have no stake in this. You have no dog in this fight. Like, truly, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I also think as well, like it comes out of good intentions of like wanting the best for the person, but you want the best for the like specter of a person that you've built up in your mind. You don't want the best for the person, but they don't want the best for the person as they are. And it's like a really hard line to walk with the fan base being as dedicated as it was and like looking back on it with some distance. Are you able to appreciate like the harmful aspects of fandom? I mean, you mentioned like Cut Verzane, which is obviously like a very, very extreme example.
Yeah,
But
insane.
is there any way that that could have been mitigated, or do you ever look back at it and you're like shocked? Like, what is your response to that kind of stuff now?
No, there was like truly nothing they could have done in that circumstance. There was no better way to go about, I guess, what happened that day. But it is like these are some of my like fondest memories. Like, I think back on it, and I think they're also mixed up in that nostalgia that we all have for the time period before things were like politically hysteric. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like these last few years where everything felt normal and like perfect, even though of course very much wasn't, and it's rose colored glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like swirled in with this, like I was having this community, and I literally like had this purpose. Every day I had this purpose, which like my purpose probably should have been like opening a book. I was, but my purpose probably should have been opening a book given to me by my school and not Wattpad. But it was just like something that was always there and always in the back of my mind, and it was so fun. It was so fun. Like,
Yeah.
I had no business knowing where they were all the time. One of
Yeah.
my best friend met Ashton Irwin because she was at the hotel they were staying at in Vegas, and I literally texted her and I was like, people are saying he went back out to the bus, go back out to the bus. And she went out and she's like, sure as shit, he was in the bus. And I was like, yeah. I had no business knowing that. And it was the time of my life. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it was unbelievably silly.
Don't underestimate a 16-year-old girl with a crush. Like, don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've mentioned Zayn was your favorite at the time.
Zayn was my favorite. Yeah. I think in my heart still, but if I had to pick one that's still in the band, Niall has really, really stolen the place for me. I love him so much.
Wow.
He's such a sweetie pie. I literally, every time I see him, I'm just like,
What, like on social media, you mean?
even like I go like see him live, like he is still releasing music and everything, and so I'll like go watch his concerts, and I just sit there and I giggle and I'm like, oh my god, he's right there, ah! And like it is so, he's just so cutie. I love him. He's such a cutie patootie. And yeah, I think Harry's always been my number two. There was just something about him that couldn't fill first place, and I don't really know what it was. But I'd still die for him, you know. I'd die for any of them. I'd lay on the tracks if they asked. It's all still that serious.
I have a really like a memory that's literally just coming back to me now. I remember it was on my gap year, so I was like 18, 19. It would have been 2015, 2016. And I remember sitting next to a girl on a bullet train in Japan, and she was on FaceTime next to me, and I looked over and it was fucking Niall on FaceTime. And I was like, what a world. Obviously, but you're not gonna interrupt that.
Yeah, you can't be like, is that Niall?
But I was like, that's not who I was expecting. Like, I remember turning around. I think I'm so English. I think I like turned around to like roll my eyes at her so that I could like express my discomfort. You know what I mean? So classic. So that I could very subtly indicate to her without having confrontation that I was like irritated by the fact that she was on the phone. Then I turned around and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, go on, man. Go on.
And I was like, no, please continue and let me
Please continue. That's my bad. Yeah.
Who is your current celebrity crush, like who's like outside of the band? Does anyone else have that space?
That's why I was just like, I almost feel like there's no like celebrity that surpasses, like when I think about a celebrity crush, it literally is, I think about them. But like I understand the appeal for Timothée Chalamet. He like wins me over every once in a while. I also like, who am I? Like, I wouldn't say no to Michael B. Jordan. Like, there's really like sometimes there are just people where I'm like, yeah, like, of course, sure.
You know what?
Like,
Hell
yeah. Joe Burrow, the football player, the American football player, he's on the Bengals. He is, I think, the most recent happening of like seeing someone on one of my feeds. Like, I see the TikTok edits and I get like butterflies in my stomach. Like, I literally am just like, oh, I can't watch it anymore because I will just sit there. It really, like, it just makes me so giddy to see it, and I get the little flutters in my tummy, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Wow.
This is stupid. This isn't even a celebrity. This is a football player. Like, let's get a grip.
You mean
so
like
that
those thirst trap edits on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay. I only just got TikTok so that I could promote this. And I'm like scared of the algorithm a little bit because everybody talks about how powerful it is.
Yeah.
But
This TikTok I posted went viral, and it was because I got a B-reel with the Queen's casket. And I was like, my digital footprint is like so fucked up. Like what? Like, this is my digital footprint right now. And like, I did something. I found this like One Direction merch. I had these like press-on nails. I didn't use a lot of this like One Direction merch I'd get. Like, even then, I could recognize when something was like a lot. So getting the One Direction press-on nails, I was like, I don't need to wear these. This is kind of getting out of hand. That's where I drew the line for some reason. But I found them like a few years ago and posted a TikTok with it. And that went like super viral. Like, I think that has like 1 million views now. I still like, people still like and comment on it. And I'm like, this is a TikTok from 5 years ago. Like, I almost was like, can I archive it? Like, people shouldn't be seeing a TikTok from 2020 anymore.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please give us a good rating if you're able, and if you hated it, then you literally don't have to listen ever again. With special thanks to my interviewee and everyone else who made this possible, including the friends that gave me the deluded confidence and equipment to record these episodes. Everything stated in these episodes are solely opinions and should not at all be taken as fact. Bye!